Julia here. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I get a lot of questions about, and it's something I have a lot of experience in. It's balancing school and writing. This is very difficult for me to talk about just because everyone's situation is different, so I can really only give insight on my own situation. For those of you who don't know me or haven't been following me for a long time, I just graduated high school and I'll be studying mechanical engineering starting this fall, so I can only really speak for the high school experience. I'll definitely be giving more insight to college when I start college, but I definitely think I can talk about balancing work and writing, even though writing is kind of like work too. It's just all work, but that's okay. We do it because we love it. So I'm just gonna be giving 5 tips on how to balance school and writing. And some of these are less of tips and more like necessities. You'll see what I mean. Tip number 1 is school always comes first. It's a hard thing to grasp and to stick with, especially if you are in the middle of writing a really good part of your book and you just all you want to do is write. School really comes first. It's hard, especially if you're studying something other than writing. Like for me personally, I'm studying mechanical engineering because I want to be a mechanical engineer, but writing is just such a freeing thing for me, and it really brings balance to my life that I love doing it just as much as I love studying mechanics and E&M. But I can't, like, you have to put school first, because in the long run, if you don't hit your writing deadlines, nothing's gonna happen except you'll be sad. If you don't hit your school deadlines, your grades are gonna suffer, and then that's just gonna put more stress on you. So definitely do your school responsibilities first, then focus on writing. Tip number 2 kind of goes hand in hand with that, and that's to set your priorities. For me, I love making lists, and I love putting on my to-do list the number of which order it's gonna go in. So school should always be number 1. So if you have an essay to write or something to study for, definitely put that as 1 and 2. And then later on down the list, put, if you're writing or editing, those go secondary. Making numbered lists of what order you're gonna do things makes a long to-do list look a little bit less intimidating. It also helps if you put some of those easier tasks in front so you can check some off right away before you get into the gritty stuff, so it looks like you've accomplished more, because you have accomplished more. Tip number 3 is to know your limits. This is something I struggle with a lot because I love getting involved in a ton of clubs and activities, but if you know that you're gonna wanna write and you're gonna wanna do well in school, then you may not be able to say yes to everything you get asked for. I love doing volunteer work. I had a part-time job when I was in high school as well, and knowing your limits and how much you can take on is really important for you to succeed. If you are super busy with your coursework and you also want to write on the side and you also want to be in 5 different clubs and activities, you're gonna have to pick and choose. I don't want you to think that just because you're putting your book on hold doesn't mean you're dedicated to it. It just means that you understand your limits and you don't want to put yourself in a bad place mental health wise, and you don't want to overexert yourself. It is definitely okay to put your book off to the side and pause and wait until a time when you are a little bit less overwhelmed. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can fit it into your schedule, then just think about clubs and activities that you really want to do or that aren't as necessary. So it's just knowing your limits. For me personally, I tried to do clubs and activities that took place during the school day. We had a school-wide unit lunch, so I would do that during unit lunch. We would have like volunteer clubs and stuff that would meet then or immediately after school. So that way when I got home, I still had several hours to take care of my part-time job, my homework, and then my writing and all that. It worked pretty well for me, but not everyone can take on juggling all of those different things, so definitely know your limits and know what works best for you. Tip number 4 is, again, kind of going hand in hand with that. It's saying no when you're at your limit. Once you know what your limit is after that, if people are asking you to do things and to get involved, you have to know when to say no. Don't worry, I have friends, I swear, but I've definitely said no to going out with friends if I know that I have a deadline coming up for writing, or if I have schoolwork and stuff. You need to know when to say no and when to give yourself a break. People can't really help you with that. That has to come from you, and that has to come from some reflection and some understanding of your limits and who you are as a person. But just do your best and know when you've hit your limits so you know when it's time to say no. Last but not least, tip number 5 is to use every moment. There are so many seconds and minutes that we waste every day. I am totally guilty of this. Scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or binging YouTube videos or binging Netflix. Some of that can be quarantined into a relaxing time and kind of a mind-numbing time just to relax and decompress. But at the same time, you need to know when to stop because it is so easy. I mean, those apps are cultivated to make sure that you keep scrolling for as long as possible. But we as writers can't do that because if we do that, then the book won't get written. So you have to know when to stop. I know YouTube and Instagram in their settings have places where you can set a limit for yourself. And once you hit that limit, it says, hey, get off the app and do something else. So that's definitely helpful for me. I highly recommend doing that if you kind of get into the scrolling phenomenon. Definitely utilizing those moments when you have the energy. Sometimes, again, knowing your limits, you may need some time to decompress, but try to use those moments as best you can and waste as little time as you can, because a lot of times you'll find that you're able to do a lot more work than you first thought. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope some of those tips gave you some good insight and some good ideas on how to balance your school and your writing lives better. If you have any other tips, make sure to leave those in the comments below. I'd love to hear about them. Thank you for stopping by. Bye!